Logistics companies up and down the East Coast were urgently relaying messages back and forth to clients Tuesday on the status of their imports and exports, after the Port of Baltimore was shut down in response to the collapse of the city's Francis Scott Key Bridge. A massive rescue effort was underway Tuesday morning. Our first priority is engaging clients to make plans for containers that were originally routed to Baltimore that will be discharged at other ports on the eastern seaboard, explained Paul Brashear, Vice President of Drayage and Intermodal for its logistics. These diverted volumes will impact the ports of New York, New Jersey, Norfolk and the Southeast, and we have to prepare trucking and transload capacity to get that freight to its intended network, Brashear said. The 10,000-container capacity vessel Dolly was on its way out of the Port of Baltimore in the early hours of Tuesday morning, heading to Colombo, Sri Lanka when it collided with a bridge pillar. At the time of the collision, the vessel had 2 pilots from the Port of Baltimore taking it out of port. The immediate impact is with the cargo on board and its accessibility. Other planned shipments through Baltimore will likely be rerouted, potentially increasing cargo flow to New York, Norfolk, and nearby ports, said Getz Alibrand, Senior Vice President and Head of Ocean Freight for the Americas at DHL Global Forwarding. Bulk and car carriers reliant on Baltimore must assess operations in the event of a prolonged closure. More than 52 million tons of foreign cargo, worth some $80 billion, were transported out of the port last year, according to Maryland Governor Wes Moore, D. The 11th largest port in the nation, Baltimore served an average of 207 calls a month last year, according to the shipping journal Lloyd's List. The Port of Baltimore is the top American port for the import and export of autos and light trucks, as well as wheeled farm vehicles and construction machinery. Last year, the port handled 847,158 cars and light trucks. According to data from the port, 2023 was the 13th consecutive year that Baltimore led American ports in the import of cars and light trucks. Other top imports include sugar and gypsum. Breaking out the trade, $23 billion of the port's total $55.2 billion of imports in 2023 were autos and light trucks. Around $4.8 billion of the port's exports were motor vehicles. As Baltimore is primarily a roll-on, roll-off port, this disruption should create possible flatbed volumes out of other ports on the East Coast, said Dondre Larry, head of Uber Freight. Following the collapse, said Larry, the bridge and port will likely be out of service for months, forcing shipments to divert first to ports in New York and New Jersey, followed by Norfolk, Virginia. Customers will be looking for solutions for their freight that typically goes through Maryland, the Mid-Atlantic, the Upper Midwest and New England, he said.